Something is shifting, something is moving in silence, something is happening now that most people cannot see. Across the earth, beneath the noise of everyday life, a quiet separation is taking place, not with thunder, not with spectacle, but in the deepest chambers of the heart. While cities glow and churches fill, an invisible line is being drawn within souls. Many continue their routines unaware, yet the atmosphere has changed. A weight is in the air, a trembling beneath the surface of ordinary days. Light is passing through crowds, and not all are receiving it. Darkness is not always loud, often it is subtle, comforting, familiar. And so the great dividing is not first in the streets, but in the secret places of the human spirit. There is a separation not of buildings, but of allegiance. Two people sit under the same word, sing the same song, lift the same hands, yet their hearts move in opposite directions. One grows soft, the other grows numb. One awakens, the other sleeps more deeply. This is the phenomenon few dare to name, the quiet sorting of souls before a visible hour arrives, like wheat and tares growing together, like lamps burning side by side. The difference is almost imperceptible until the moment it is not. Some are being drawn into deeper light through repentance, hunger, and surrender. Others are being lulled into a dangerous calm through comfort, distraction, and self-assurance. The world calls it progress. Heaven calls it preparation. Even nations are caught in this current. Voices rise and fall, systems tighten and loosen. Yet beneath politics and culture, there is a spiritual current pulling humanity toward a moment of decision. The noise grows louder to drown out the whisper. Entertainment multiplies to mask the ache of the soul. The rush of life accelerates so that no one must be alone with their own conscience. Yet in the stillness, for those who dare to listen, a call is echoing. Not a shout to the masses, but a summons to the remnant. A call to wake up, a call to return, a call to be ready when readiness will no longer be something that can be borrowed. This is not random. This is not a season that simply happened. This is not coincidence. What is unfolding is older than the cities we live in and deeper than the language we speak. It is the slow unveiling of an eternal reality breaking into time. The invisible is pressing against the visible. The eternal is touching the temporary, and the words once spoken by Jesus, words many assumed were distant and symbolic, are moving with quiet precision into living fulfillment. The separation has begun in secret, long before it will ever be seen in the open. And what comes next was never meant to surprise those who were watching. The atmosphere you sensed at the end was not imagination. The weight in the air is real. The quiet division is continuing even as many believe everything is as it has always been. Hearts are being measured while lips remain busy with familiar words. And into this silent moment, the voice of Jesus still speaks, not as distant history, but as living warning. He once described a time when people would be eating and drinking, planting and building, marrying and celebrating, fully convinced that tomorrow would look exactly like today. Life would appear stable. Religion would appear active. Faith would appear confident. Yet beneath the surface, vigilance would be rare. Readiness would be shallow. He spoke of servants who believed the master delayed, and so they relaxed their guard. He warned of lamps without oil, of fields where good and counterfeit grew side by side, of hearts that slowly drifted while assuming they were secure. His words were not threats, they were mercy in advance. Today, those same patterns breathe again. Churches are full, yet many souls are empty. Songs are loud, yet devotion is thin. Confidence is high, yet dependence on God is low. Many say, "I am fine," while the flame quietly fades. The most dangerous place is not open rebellion, but comfortable faith without awe, routine without surrender, knowledge without obedience. The heart learns how to speak holy language while avoiding holy transformation. And the warning of Jesus presses gently but firmly. Do not let familiarity steal your watchfulness. He spoke of doors that once stood open but later were shut, of voices that cried too late, of people who were certain they were known, only to discover that intimacy cannot be borrowed at the last moment. He revealed that outward association would never replace inward devotion, that proximity to sacred things does not equal possession of a surrendered heart. And this is the aching truth of this hour. Many stand close to the light without letting it pass through them. All around us the signs align with what he described, not in spectacle but in condition. The love of many grows cold, not through hatred, but through distraction. Hope dulls, not from persecution, but from abundance. Souls grow drowsy, not in darkness, but under soft blankets of spiritual complacency. The warning is not aimed at the openly broken, it is aimed at the comfortably convinced. At those who assume they are ready because they once were. At those who trust yesterday's encounter to sustain today's obedience. This is the alert, and it is unfolding now. Not shouted from the rooftops, but whispered in troubled consciences, not forced upon crowds, but offered to individuals willing to stop and listen. Jesus is still warning because he is still inviting rescue before the final moment arrives. The line is being drawn quietly, patiently, relentlessly, and the question his words still ask in every generation remains unanswered for many, even now. Not whether they believe, but whether they are truly awake. There is a work that happens in hidden places long before it is ever celebrated in public. It is the work of refining. It feels like loss before it feels like purpose. It feels like silence before it feels like destiny. When God prepares a heart, he often begins by removing what once gave comfort. The familiar fades. The crowd thins. The noise quiets, and in the stillness everything that was shallow begins to fall away. What cannot endure pressure is gently stripped, not as punishment, but as preparation. Many misunderstand this season. They call it abandonment when it is actually drawing near. They call it rejection when it is actually selection. The heart cries, "Why am I alone?" While heaven answers, "You are being set apart." Like the man once built an ark, while the world continued its laughter, like another was led out while familiar walls burned behind him, those chosen for deeper work are often misunderstood in the moment of their purification. The crowd rarely applauds the season of isolation, yet isolation is where the voice of God becomes unmistakable. The refining does not come softly. It comes like a wind that shakes what is unstable. It comes like a fire that does not destroy but exposes what is impure. It comes like a night where no distractions remain and the soul must finally speak the truth to itself. Motives surface, attachments are tested, hidden idols lose their power. What once felt essential is revealed as expendable, and through it all, a quiet invitation remains. Surrender what you cannot take into what is coming. Some feel this refining as loneliness, others as confusion, others as loss they never expected. Relationships shift, desires change, old pleasures no longer satisfy. The heart begins to hunger for something that cannot be explained with familiar language. And in this hunger, heaven is doing deep surgery. What is being removed now will not be needed later. What is being built now will be required when the storm arrives. This is not the season of applause. This is the season of roots. There are those listening now who feel as though the world has grown distant, as though the rhythm they once followed no longer fits their soul. You are not broken. You are being called. The ache you feel is not emptiness. It is space being created for weightier glory. The quiet that unsettles you is not absence. It is intimacy forming. The pressure that frightens you is not destruction. It is refinement shaping endurance. Remain. Do not run from the fire that purifies. Do not flee the silence that teaches you how to hear. Do not resist the pruning that promises fruit in the right season. What is being tested now is not your strength, but your trust. What is being proven now is not your perfection but your surrender. And those who endure this hidden work will not emerge smaller, they will emerge clearer, steadier, and unshakable when the visible shaking begins. For beyond this refining lies a greater test, one that will not wound with loss, but will seduce with comfort. The fire prepares you for the storm, the silence prepares you for the voice that will soon demand a clear answer of the heart. The greatest deception is rarely announced as danger. It arrives dressed as safety. It speaks in the language of peace while quietly stealing vigilance from the soul. It sounds gentle, reasonable, even spiritual. It promises rest without surrender, confidence without obedience, blessing without transformation. This is how the final test unfolds, not as terror, but as comfort that numbs the spirit to sleep while light still flickers at the edges of the heart. The soul is not usually conquered by force, but by agreement. Little compromises that feel harmless, small delays that seem wise, subtle permissions that grow into quiet captivity. The enemy does not need to pull many away. He only needs to persuade them to pause, to wait a little longer, to lower their guard just enough, to believe they have time when time is the one gift they no longer truly possess. Once there was a woman who looked back at what she was leaving and turned a single glance into a lifelong monument of regret. There were companions who slept while the moment of testing passed beside them. There were those who carried lamps and even expected a celebration, yet discovered too late that outward readiness cannot replace inward preparation. Others believed they were rich, full, secure, and in need of nothing, yet they were unaware that their sight had already begun to fail. These are not stories of ancient failure. They are mirrors held up to every generation that drifts into comfort before discernment. The lullaby of this hour is not loud rebellion. It is spiritual drowsiness clothed in religious activity. It is knowing the language of faith without trembling before the presence of God. It is serving without burning. It is believing without watching. It is doing many things for God while quietly avoiding life with Him. The soul learns to appear alive while the oil runs low. The heart learns to feel warm while the flame slowly fades. False readiness is confident without being clean. It is busy without being broken. It is sure without being surrendered. It measures itself by others instead of by the light it carries in private. It assumes tomorrow will always offer another chance to repent, another moment to change, another day to return. But the danger of this deception is not that it feels evil, it is that it feels normal. Examine your heart without fear. Ask what has quietly replaced first love. Ask what comforts have numbed hunger for God. Ask where distraction has grown familiar and where holy urgency has grown strange. The greatest trap is not lust or pride alone, but the slow erosion of awe. When awe fades, watchfulness soon follows. This is not spoken to condemn, but to awaken. Not to crush, but to rescue before the final curtain moves. The test is subtle now, but it will not remain subtle forever. There will come a moment when what is hidden becomes visible, when what is assumed becomes measured, when what is postponed becomes lost opportunity. Wake up while waking is still possible. Open your eyes while light still knocks. Shake off the comfort that dulls your spirit. For the most dangerous sleep is not the sleep of the body, but the sleep of the soul that believes it is already awake. In this hour, readiness is not proven by words spoken in public, but by habits lived in secret. The oil that sustains the flame is gathered quietly, drop by drop, in moments no one else applauds. It grows in unhurried prayer when the world demands speed. It deepens in repentance when pride urges self-defense. It sharpens in silence when noise feels easier. This is not mechanical duty, it is living communion. It is the daily choice to return the heart to its rightful center again and again. True watchfulness is not panic, it is posture. It is a soul that stays low before God and high in hope. It is the refusal to live on yesterday's encounter while neglecting today's surrender. Many keep the memory of faith, but not the fire of it. The fire is fed through intimacy, through confession that restores clarity, through fasting that weakens the flesh so the spirit can rise, through the quiet reading of sacred truth, not to perform but to abide. Relationship always costs more than routine, but it carries a life that routine can never sustain. There was once a man who looked successful to everyone around him. His life was full, his calendar crowded, his reputation secure. Yet alone at night he felt hollow, restless, unsettled. One evening he finally stopped filling the silence and let it speak. In that stillness he fell to his knees and surrendered what he had been protecting for years. No one saw the moment, but everything changed afterward, not instantly in appearance, but deeply in direction. The flame that had nearly gone out found new breath. There was also a woman hidden in ordinary days, unnoticed by leaders, unknown by crowds. Her prayers were simple, her tears frequent, her obedience steady. She chose faithfulness when no reward was visible. Over time, her heart grew light, her discernment sharp, her peace unshakable. When shaking later came to many, she stood because her roots had grown unseen long before the storm. And there was a third, who once burned brightly, but allowed bitterness and comfort to slowly dull the edge of devotion. Nothing dramatic marked the change, only small justifications that multiplied over time. The fire did not go out in a moment, it dimmed by neglect. Yet even for this soul, mercy waited. When he finally turned back with full honesty, grace met him without delay, proving that restoration is never withheld from a heart that truly returns. This is how one lives in this hour, not by fear of being left, but by love strong enough to stay awake, not by striving for position, but by guarding the presence within, not by public display, but by private surrender. The separation taking place is not cruelty, it is mercy. It is the gentle hand of God, removing what cannot survive what is coming. It is the kindness of heaven, preparing a people who will not collapse when the trumpet of truth finally sounds. Keep your flame trimmed, keep your heart soft, keep your spirit listening. The world will grow louder, but the voice of God will grow clearer to those who learn to live close. The hour asks not for performers, but for lovers. Not for spectators, but for the faithful. This is not punishment. This is mercy moving ahead of the moment. This is love preparing a way where judgment could have stood. The separation you feel is not heaven pushing away, but heaven calling closer. The refining was not to reduce you, but to ready you. The warnings were not to frighten you, but to awaken you while the door is still open and the light is still within reach. The time is short. The signs are clear. The call is gentle, but urgent. The time is short, not because love has grown weak, but because love has already done all it needs to do. The signs are clear, not for those chasing fear, but for those who cherish truth. The call is gentle, not because the hour is insignificant, but because the heart still has room to choose. Do not fear the separation. It is the mark of care. Do not fear the shaking. It is the proof of permanence being built within you. Do not fear the narrowing of the path. It is the mercy that keeps you from being lost in the crowd. What feels like loss now will one day be recognized as rescue. What feels like silence now will one day be understood as protection. What feels like delay now will one day reveal itself as perfect timing. The world will grow louder, the nights may grow heavier, the pressure may increase. Yet the light for those who watch will not grow dim, it will grow steady and pure. You were never meant to survive by strength. You were meant to endure by intimacy. You were never meant to be ready by memory. You were meant to be ready by daily surrender. Stay awake, stay soft, stay near. Let the fire be tended quietly, faithfully, consistently. Let the heart remain open even when the road feels narrow. Let obedience be your peace. Let humility be your shelter. Let hope be your anchor when the wind begins to rise. The time is short. The signs are clear. The invitation still stands. The time is short. The signs are clear. The invitation still stands. The time is short. The signs are clear. The invitation still stands. Do not harden your heart. Do not silence the whisper. Do not trade the eternal for the temporary. The door is still open. The light is still calling. The mercy is still flowing, and the hope set before you has not faded, not even for a moment. Stay awake. Stay pure. Stay ready.